humans so greedy?
Why did the divine force put into place the need for the fear of others? You understand, in order to maintain the physicality and to, shall we say, dampen the quality of the recognition that one is creating reality, that one is, if you like, a God in their own right, because such things without knowledge, without understanding, are even more dangerous. Do you understand what I mean? So the fear of missing something, the fear of not having more than anyone else is what is the driving force. The idea of separation from divinity put into place. Do you understand? So it is, first of all, is the idea that there is a division from the almighty unity of all things. There is a division that creates, shall we say, evil. So now you make a god demon that is almost as powerful. And one then constantly slips towards it. One can then blame something outside of self for one's failings. It wasn't me that did it. It was the evil force. It came in, it inhabited my body when I stole from the other. And yet all of it is to awaken, that one takes responsibility for one's actions, that one is accountable to the divine force and to all of its manifestation through individual creation. There is, again, no separation in the end. Does this make some sort of sense?
Yeah, so it's basically part of our design to precipitate growth and expansion through awakening.
Of course. And not just from awakening, but from the consequences of actions that bring about suffering. And the idea is that one can somehow force suffering onto another by actions that you take. And that is what greed and avarice and, if you like, all of the 7 deadly sins do. They force, shall we say, the suffering appear to force the suffering onto someone else. But in the end, always it returns to its source, because one is always creating reality from the beliefs that one holds. So if you hold a belief, shall we say, that one group is somehow dangerous, they will, of course, become that for you. Now you have to expend energy and everything else to protect yourself from them, and in the end, both are suffering. There is only the ability to integrate. And integration is accepting and valuing the other. In a sense, one could say that is the nature of love. Love is an integration. One accepts even the failings of one that one loves, that one is integrating with. And together, one is building, shall we say, awareness, because the awareness of how one affects the other, how one's behaviors and attitudes affect the loved one. And if one cannot perceive of this, one will suffer then the consequence of being unable to love. And if one is unable to love, one is also unable to acknowledge and accept being loved. So the consequences are dramatic.
So, as a human sharing this planet with many others, should I and others focus on coming into our hearts and finding that love and sharing that love? Or should we also be standing up to people that we can see that are overcome by greed and taking from others? Or is there a balance of the two?
Always, if one manifests in one's life, taking responsibility for the manifestation. You understand what I mean? If one opens one's heart to love someone, then what is the true nature of love, but to reflect back with love that which one perceives. Do you understand? So if you are in the world of someone who has, shall we say, found a greedy moment, then one reflects that back, just as you will as your children show such signs. You understand that is what you show to your children, how to be one of the unit, to be part of the family field and not be excluded. And so often then families exclude their children because they do not meet the patterns of the family field, whether that is a field that is filled with anger and greed, or one that is filled with loving compassion. Do you understand? You have to fit in the fields that one is exposed to, or one will necessarily isolate or be isolated.
Thank you.
You understand? This is how communities build themselves. And why it is that aggressive communities find themselves in positions with others of similar content.